Hold on.
From the Smart Option login, you're going to go to the Buy tab.
Missing Bonnie.
Okay, I'm at the Buy tab. Yeah.
Welcome to the live, everybody. Today we're here with Bobby Jones and Ronnie Haskins and myself, Marcus Morgan. Today we've got some very interesting topics that we want to cover, including what's going on with the chip shortages, how to navigate the new car business and how to navigate your new car purchases. How can Tesla stay on top of the EV market, and how can the other manufacturers stay involved with the EV revolution? So, Bobby, let's start talking about some chip shortages. Oh, hey, Bonnie.
Hi. My computer just died.
Bonnie Simons, everybody.
Hello. I'm here to liven things up. So we're talking about the chip shortage.
Absolutely. So, from what I've seen over the last couple weeks and months, and doing all the research, what we've seen is recently we just heard word that over 230,000 vehicles were completely axed from the European manufacturing production lines. So that's rather unfortunate for the new car purchases. Every site says a different thing about when, the chip shortage is going to be resolved. Most people say 2024 a lot. But what I'm seeing the most of is most likely 2025, 2026. Bobby, do you see anything different right now?
No, I'm actually seeing the exact same thing. It was rumored in one of our magazines there that it could take certain manufacturers like Toyota up to 4 years to correct their chip shortage. They're denying it, obviously, but I think it's somewhere in that range for them.
So here's my question for that. Like, knowing that and knowing that the 2023s are coming out soon, what are they going to do? Like right now, what they're doing is like, you might find interesting things in cars, like this one that I just bought. It has a button for heated seats, no heated seats. And I've seen Mercedes where there's like one function of the seat that's not power because there's no chip for it. So have you seen anything about how they're going to, how are they going to rework their design in the factories to make it make sense with fewer chips?
Yeah, and Marcus, you probably got a lot of insight on that, but I'm thinking kind of like what you were saying, Bonnie. Those cars are going to have to be delivered, and based off of what they've done historically, it's probably just going to have to be recalls on the vehicles, and then we bring those things in, install the chips, and get the vehicle working fully operational. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the microchips, what a lot of people don't realize is that there's microchips in like every electronic part of the vehicle. So not only, like Bonnie was saying, the heated seats and the power seats in general, but when it comes to things like even the ECU, that requires a very sophisticated microchip. And that's why a lot of the vehicle production, those 230,000 cars that are being axed, that's because they don't have the microchip for the actual ECU to run the car.
What's an ECU?
ECU is an electronic control unit that helps power the car. So it controls pretty much everything in the car. It helps with timing. It helps pretty much just run the car.
Formerly known as the brain of the vehicle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like Marcus is the brain of the office.
But yeah, so the cars that are being just completely cut off and not being produced right now, that's an ECU chip shortage. The vehicles who don't have specific parts that require a microchip that just don't work right now, like you said, Bobby, those are all going to be later recalls. They still want to get the unit out and they still want to get the vehicles produced. But once those chips are produced, they'll just recall the car back in for service when those microchips get in. Another thing is it could just be a longer waiting time. I mean, we're already seeing on average 90 to 180 day wait times for vehicles. So that can either increase or stay the same for the next couple of years while we're waiting on this chip shortage to kind of resolve itself. But I mean, when you look at the problem realistically, it's not just the microchips. It's just the entire manufacturing lines are experiencing shortages in a lot of materials, not just the microchips. But I mean, I've talked to trade workers who they're really low on tile and glass and copper and things like that. So I mean, it's not just us in the auto industry struggling for this right now. It's everybody. And until everything starts shifting in the right direction, the auto industry isn't going to be any different.
But I don't want people to think, like, I'm going to do a shameless plug for coming into Auto Search. I don't want people to think that that means that you can't get a car.
Absolutely.
It's not true. And actually what just happened with me was that I wanted a certain car, but I can't get it right now. But that doesn't mean, but because we could sell any kind of car, I was able to find something similar. And you can lease, you don't have to buy a car. You can even do a 2-year lease if you really want to expedite the timeline. And then at the end of that lease, then you can get what you want. By then things should have eased up a little bit. So one of the benefits of doing, like, coming here is that, like, part of our job is to know, like, okay, well, this is what it's like to drive a Toyota, or this is what it's like to drive a Honda, and so forth. So if you can't get something, then we can say, well, this other car is somewhat similar. Maybe you'd be happy with that for a few years.
Absolutely. And, you know, that leads us into, you know, our next topic as well, which is how to navigate the new car purchasing experience. I mean, with cars taking so long to be produced, what is the most efficient way to get a new vehicle with used car prices being so high, especially in the hybrid and the EV market? Hybrid and EVs in the last month, used car hybrid and EVs. For electric vehicles, they have shot up 37.7% in the last month. And for hybrids, they've shot up 32.1% in the last month. So with that increase in price in those, it makes more financial sense to go the new route. But you just have to stay prepared and plan ahead. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. And like Bonnie was saying, it's not saying we can't get cars right now. It's just there's going to be a little bit of a wait. So you got to stay prepared. And, you know, if you're coming off of lease in, say, 6 months, now's the perfect time to start looking, because as soon as that lease expires, you'll be able to hop into something new and not have to worry about anything that goes wrong in between, because you'll have a car until then.
Yeah.
And just like Bonnie said, on the shameless plug for Auto Search, I mean, we're sourcing these vehicles from everywhere, you know, and we have local people that we work with, and we also have our nationwide, you know, access to certain vehicles and people and things like that. So you never know when you will get a vehicle. Sometimes it may not be as long of a wait as you're expecting, but you may not get all those specific options that you may want. Maybe time to kind of settle on what's available. Maybe even, like Bonnie said, use a lease,
What's up,
something
guys?
that's going to be
This is taking me a
temporary,
minute.
get us through this time frame, and then see what's happening after that. See if you can get what you actually want. You know,
Or it may even be that, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. I get so excited. It may even be that, like, you might find that something that you thought you had to get isn't available, and that it's an even better deal. That I'm just thinking about the heated seats on the car that like the car that I just bought has heated seats, but it doesn't have heated seats. But I didn't want heated seats, and they gave me money back because of that. So it's not all as gloomy as it sounds. It just requires a little bit more openness to the idea that, you know, there might be something better out there. There might be something that works better under these particular circumstances. But it is definitely still possible to get a car, and even on short notice if you need one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about just keeping your options open, right? Navigating this new trend. It's like people that want what they want and exactly what they want are having a problem right now. And so, you know, like if you want a 4Runner with X amount of equipment on it, it takes 18 months. So like it's difficult. So keeping your options open, I think, is paramount. Don't you guys think that?
Absolutely. And on that point, you know, that's something that we kind of specialize in here, because we're not just like your normal dealer where we only have 1 or 2 brands that we can sell. We work with almost every manufacturer in existence, so we can help. You know, maybe the 4Runner with all the toys isn't available, but maybe the Honda Passport with all the toys is. Maybe, you know, you can't get a big third row SUV from, you know, Chevy or Chrysler or, you know, the Yukons or any of those, but maybe you can get into an Atlas or an XC90 from Volvo. There's a lot of different options that we can help navigate our clients through in this time of just uncertainty in the auto industry. So, I mean, that's something that I love doing is, you know, maybe maybe I can't get you the exact car you want for 6-7 months, but if you're open and willing to look in another direction, and who knows, you might even like the other one better. So, I mean, it's just keeping those options open, keeping an open mind, and planning ahead, and just trying to stay prepared.
Bobby, is that what happened with that beautiful Passport yesterday? Was that a situation where you had to talk through the options and find something comparable?
Yeah, there was a small portion of that. I mean, ultimately the client got pretty much everything that they wanted, but they did have to make some adjustments, with different packaging, different coloring, things of that sort. So some of those things may not be as important as you may think, but the client actually overall was very happy with everything that came with the vehicle, probably with the exception of maybe one thing.
Guess what just
If
happened?
you haven't looked at, oh, sorry, Ronnie.
Guess what just happened? So I got a car in freaking, I don't even remember where it is. I got a driver. Dude, the show has to go on, but like I've got shipping problems with vehicles right now. And it just blew up on my face 1 minute before this live went live. Like, the people have my car, won't release it. I've already paid for the car. I already have the title to the car. They have the car. They want a piece of paper I don't have. I have a trucker with 10 cars on it sitting there waiting, and they won't release the car. So
And this is exactly the kind of problem we handle for our clients so that they don't have to.
yeah, it's a devastating situation right now. I got other people working on trying to fix it. Probably not going to get fixed, but we can now just focus on talking about what we're talking about. So you guys went into talking about navigating the car business?
Yep.
Yeah, we were just talking about that Passport from yesterday, and I was just going to tell the audience that if you haven't taken a look at it, it's an unusual and striking car. So take a look at our website and see the car that Bobby sold yesterday.
Yeah, it's not on the website, but it's
I'm
on
sorry, not website, Facebook page.
Yeah. Like, that was something that, Ken made a decision. He wanted to get a specific car, but his time frame is faster than 6 months. So he looked at what else would happen. Like, what else can I get with a heated steering wheel, cool seats, automatic start, remote start, things of that nature. And we came up with a Honda Passport, which we got in 2 to 3 weeks. So like, those types of people are winning right now. When you wait on a specific unit that I have to have, and I've got to have it in this color, this particular market is not conducive to making that happen. It's just causing people a lot of problems.
Absolutely. And like we've been talking about, it's just all about keeping an open mind. And the people who do have that super brand loyalty, I mean, which is awesome. Like, for me, I love Toyota, but I love all cars, to be honest. But those people who are just super brand loyal and not open to anything else, those are the people who are having the hardest time finding exactly what they want, because their time frame is rapid, and those particular vehicles just take a longer amount of time, especially what we're seeing with the hybrids and the EVs right now, is those 90 to 180 day waits, if not longer. I mean, the American market is much worse for most of the vehicles, like Ford, Chevy, just GM and Ford in general. They're having trouble just even producing the vehicles right now. So with those people who are American brand loyal, it's really hard to find a car within the year. So with those, it's just all about keeping that open mind. And other cars have heated seats, and other cars have good power. It's just finding the right balance for you in general. And just like Bonnie said, leasing is a great option. You don't have to have a car forever.
You're right. Like, that's the thing. It's like, what solution can you have? People, when they go into car business, what I see is they want to make a decision right now that's going to last 10 years. And they want to do that in this particular market frame. And I'm like, listen, why can't we lease a car for 3 years? I know it's not the perfect solution. And let's revisit this in 3 years, and hopefully have a hybrid or an electric option, or something better than what we're having to deal with now.
And I believe that this should be a part of this discussion, that navigating the new car business. Something that we preach at AutoSearch is that people need to start preparing for their next vehicle purchase. It is literally probably the second largest purchase that you'll ever make, outside of your home or whatever the case may be. So having people prepare 6 months to a year in advance of needing that next vehicle, understanding pricing, understanding the market, is paramount to their success.
That's totally cool. I mean, that, yeah, I always talk about that, but like, I think that people are really starting to have to do it now. They're having to look at it from a long view instead of, oh, I'm going to go get a car this weekend.
Right.
Because getting a car this weekend is not going to happen without a ski mask. So, all right. So what else did you guys? Did you guys already talk about the chip shortage and what your thoughts were?
Yeah, I have just one more quick thing, but just piggybacking off the lease idea and the chip shortage, we're anticipating the most likely recovery of the chip shortage will be around that 2025 mark. The average lease is about 3 years. It's
That's
2022 right now. 2025 is in 3 years. Lease a car for 3 years, and then in 3 years, you're more likely to get exactly what you want.
Yeah, it's really
I've got a question for you guys related to that. So if we're talking about the chip shortage and some cars are missing certain features because they don't have the chips, and if you're buying that car, but it's like in some cases you could retrofit it, but we're not going to know what's retrofitted and what's not just by looking at it. So do you think that those cars will be worth less once the chip shortage is over?
I don't want a car without blind spot monitor.
Yeah, and that's a good point. With just the way the production lines are going in with the new vehicles, it's driving those used car prices up. So, but if the chip shortage does fix itself in 2025, it makes sense that those used car prices drop again because the new vehicles are being produced faster. Another issue that I potentially see us running into in the future is right now the manufacturers are making more money than ever in producing less vehicles.
They like it. It's just
exactly.
just
They like this new business model that we've just kind of fallen into by accident. So
you can produce a car and know that it's going to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
Like every one of them, like we're going to make 100,000 cars. We know they're already sold.
Yeah. And even at $5-6 grand over MSRP.
So people that want to wait, I'm going to wait 2 years. I'm like, dude, your car, if you need to trade now, let's figure out a 3-year solution, because waiting, I don't know, then you lose all the value of that trade in. I mean, there's all different types of little pieces that are attached to this particular deal.
Mm-hmm.
Buying because of wants right now is hard. If you have to get a car right now, it's super hard. So like Bobby said, like you better start planning, get your money together, make sure you're saving something for a rainy day or if. Another thing I would point out, if you're navigating the new car business and go back to that, right, is make sure you go review your insurance. Review it, because if you get a car that's totaled right now, it's like hitting a jackpot. But if you haven't updated that stuff and you haven't looked at it, and maybe you went cheap 3 years ago, it's like, okay, you might want to go revisit that, because if your car gets totaled by a hailstorm or something like that, you want to make sure that you can capitalize on it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Bonnie and I know that relatively well.
Accidents within like a month of each other?
Yeah, like 2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, our cars were both totaled. I don't know what your insurance. But mine came back with, I had $8-9 grand in equity. And that was something that I wasn't expecting. And that helped me navigate into a new purchase. But, like you were saying, if you did go cheap a couple of years ago, like a $2,000 car that was, in 2019 when it was available to get a $2,000 car with, just about 200,000 miles on it in operable condition, that's not going to be worth that anymore. It could be worth a little bit more, but more than likely it's going to be just $500-600. So
it'd be interesting if an insurance person could post in there what their thoughts are. If someone's watching this that's in the insurance industry, what would be your advice? Because I don't really have that knowledge, but I know they have new car replacement riders or whatever. I wouldn't skimp on those right now. If it's $500 or whatever it is, I would be looking at that to make sure that if I total my car, I'm going to get as much money as possible, because I'm going to need it for the next purchase right now. Yeah,
and from personal experience, when it comes to insurance, make sure you have bodily injury coverage, so you can get the medical attention you need in case of worst case scenario. Neither of us planned on having the accident, and worst came to worst, and we were lucky enough to find new vehicles. But it's not going to be that way for everybody, and everybody's got a different situation. You know, my car is a very niche specific type of vehicle. And I just stumbled into one, but you know, not everyone's going to be like that.
Well, I guess, you know, if anybody's just joining us, we just had a disaster at the beginning of this video, so we're sorry for that, but we're talking about chip shortage, navigating the new car business. And we got some other topics. Like the next one is going to be digital trends, buying cars digitally. Marcus researched this. Bobby was looking at this. Who wants to talk first? I think, Bobby, what do you think, man? Like digital trends, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Marcus, but we're going to end this thing by 3. And so I want to get through all of these topics. And then we got Tesla and EVs, and how can other brands stay up with Tesla? We got some more topics, but right now, let's talk about the digital car buying trends. Like you see this stuff going on the internet. People want to sit at home, buy a car, have it delivered to their house. We have our own thoughts in this office, but what do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put my opinion out there. I don't think it's a good idea right now. You know, just not having the support of someone in the industry that does this every day, that knows who to call, that knows how to fix these situations. Like, you know, I'm in an EV club for electric vehicles, and they were just saying it's almost coming to a point where Tesla's just throwing the keys out in the parking lot and telling people to figure it out.
Wow.
You know, when they're taking, you know, ownership of their vehicle, when they're getting them in after probably a year or more of a wait. You know, and I know Mark is going to have more statistics, but for me personally, I don't think it's a good idea in this current market.
What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, so digital car buying is an interesting theory. You know, a lot of people, you know, if you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that might be the best way to go about things. But, you know, one, like Bobby said, you don't get the, you know, the personal touch of somebody who actually knows what they're doing. 2, what a lot of these digital car buying places, not to name any names, but what those car buying places are running into is title work problems, because they get cars from all over the country. And when you have to ship a car from, you know, New York to Colorado, you have a New York title that needs to be transferred to a Colorado title. And that title work is just getting all sorts of messed up, and people are returning their cars. Another thing we're running into with the digital car buying experience is people want to touch their cars. People want to feel and drive and really get a sense of what really they are looking for, which, I mean, is hard enough right now as it is. But I mean, when you buy a car online, you have no clue how the car is going to feel when it gets there. You have no clue about any previous service records or anything that could have gone wrong. Whereas, you know, with us, we know all of our cars like the back of our hands. We know exactly what's been done to it. We know exactly what we need to do to it, if anything. And we have just more accessibility to information than some of these bigger digital car buying websites that just really don't have the personal touch and don't really give you as much information as you really need to make a well-informed decision.
Yeah, I think those points are valid. What do you think, Bonnie?
I think that I'm just thinking of it in comparison to talking to us. And the thing is, like, it's basically, if you buy a car online, you're basically trying to do what we're doing for you. So you're going out there and you're looking at cars all over the country, maybe. But the thing is that we do this every day. And for most people, they don't buy a car more than once every 3 years. It's not going to cost anymore to have us do it. So it just doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me. We probably even have access to more cars. So plus it's like having a therapist, like the car therapist.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in it. Think about it from a 100-foot view or 100,000-foot view, right? Like, never mind it competing with us. This isn't a car sales video, right? Like, I don't care. Like, some people are I'm just talking about the trend in general.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at buying a car, hold on, this is that driver. So I gotta take this call. But like, I know it's a disaster day. Hold on a second. Hey guys.
But that's what I mean, is that you can have somebody else do it for you. So, I mean, digital car buying, there's like certain kinds of people who love the hunt. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not the kind of person who loves the hunt, this is just digital car buying is just going to be a lot of extra work on the part of the buyer.
Yeah. And it's a liability. The liability of, just like you said, not knowing what you're going to get, not being familiar with the current issues that are happening in the car market, understanding the markup value. There's no mathematical equation that says what a used car is worth, you know, over market price right now. So if you're buying that online and you're not informed, you could get taken advantage of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was talking about earlier, you know, when it comes to buying a car, like you said, Bobby, it's most people's second biggest purchase other than a home. And with something that large, people really want to know exactly what they're getting. And with that, you know, when you do the digital car buying experience, you don't know exactly what you're getting. You see the pictures they take and put online, but I mean, pictures don't really do the actual car justice when it gets in. You won't know what the suspension feels like. You won't know, you know, if there's any weird noises coming from the engine bay. You won't know, you know, it comes with an engine light popped on and you don't know what's going wrong.
Yeah. And I've even had people that have been scammed a lot since this whole situation has started. People have been buying vehicles online from non-reputable people, and the money just being taken away. I have 2 friends that have been in that situation already. You know, bought a car and there is no car.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, like, I don't like putting my social security number online. So, you know,
that's a good point.
Like you know, with like digital car buying, you like in order to get approved for anything, you have to put that online, and like, who knows if these sites are really secure? So,
I'd like other people to chime in, like if you've got comments about this digital trends, because it got really hot when the pandemic hit. Everybody wanted to stay home and have their cars delivered. Now you got to understand this. This is just used cars, right? And a handful of new cars right now, like the new Hummer, the Ford Lightning. People have now ordered the Cadillac Lyric, which is going to be coming out this fall. Those are all these electric cars that the big manufacturers produce. They're going to start getting delivered, and people are buying them online, which is I think is cool. But as far as the used car market, when it comes to touching the car, feeling the car, making sure all the scratches are fixed, things of that nature, it's been really difficult for them to stay on top of it.
Absolutely.
You know, I think it could be something that could be good for lots of people, but I don't know how sustainable it is right now. And I'm just keeping my eye on it and trying to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going to be good. We're not going to compete in that market as a business. We choose not to, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be a thing. I think eventually it will be a thing. They'll click on their phone, they'll buy a car, it'll be delivered. But there's always going to be room for people that want to use a real estate agent instead of buying at Redfin. Like look at Zillow went through this during the pandemic. They went straight through the roof and they started selling houses, and then they just pulled out of that game 4 or 5 months ago. They completely got out. They were like, we're done. But Redfin's still around. So I think, but they're still attached to people on the ground, you know, so maybe some hybrid model could be something that could work.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, like you said, if there's someone on the ground actually inspecting the vehicles and actually putting maybe, you know, a condition report online for people to see, maybe that will help that trend stay positive. But like you said, even with the new inventory crisis, you know, those used car buying websites are falling off drastically because people aren't liking the service or the cars that they're getting even.
I think they'll fix it to some degree. I mean, there's so many. They were doing like 4.3 billion in sales. So I think the numbers they're really big, which I talked to Matt this morning. He says it's a small number, but like revenue. But you know, when you're looking at it, like they're going to figure something out. It's going to work, but I don't think it's going to replace the entire car market. And so if you're clients that like to be serviced and you like to sit down with somebody and have a cup of coffee, there are going to be businesses for you to work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Is that enough about the digital trends?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. Let's talk about this one. So I got asked this from LinkedIn. LinkedIn sent me a message. They wanted me to participate in this deal. And they had 2 questions. First was, how can Tesla stay on top of the EV market? And the second question is, how can other brands catch up? So I'd like to go one at a time. Like, I've got thoughts on this, but you know, think about it like this: the electric business is only, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like 2.5% or maybe up to 5% of the entire car business. When people say that people are going electric, they're not. they're buying Teslas. That's the thing, right? Not everybody's going electric. They're buying Teslas. Like Teslas are being sold at a rapid pace. They did 200,000 in a month recently. And so I think that it's still a very small piece. But when the other manufacturers start producing and making this thing mainstream, my question to you guys is, what can Tesla do to attempt to stay on top? I have my thoughts, but I'd like to hear yours. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead. Just don't all talk at once.
I'll jump out there because mine's pretty quick. Obviously I used Tesla's name earlier, and I think Tesla does a great job. But I think when it comes to the delivery of the vehicle, I feel like they can do a much better job in that area.
So you're saying delivery would help. That would help them stay on top, like improve that delivery experience.
Exactly. I mean, you've got clients that have put their money on the table over a year ago. The day finally came where the vehicle is present. And, now, everything is computerized. So there are manuals and things like that inside the car to teach you how to do it. But that personal touch will never go away. As long as we're human beings, we're going to need some level of personal touch. So I think they're going to have to upgrade that portion of their business. And I also feel that starting to work with dealers and brokers and, people like that is going to kind of bridge the gap with that if they don't have or they don't choose to use their money or their manpower in that way.
Did you hear what he said? I mean, because Tesla doesn't sell to dealerships.
Exactly.
So just direct to consumer.
Exactly. So if that was something that they decided to tie in, it would be beneficial, because not only are these people that are selling literally majority of the other makes and models of EVs that are going to be coming out speaking highly of them, you want those people to have hands on their product as well and be able to do a fair comparison in person.
I like that, Bobby. I appreciate that insight, because I'm thinking something similar than that, but I'll hold mine. What do you think, Bonnie?
I don't think Tesla will be able to stay on top of the EV market. I don't think there's anything they can do. What they would have to do is differentiate their vehicles from the other EVs. Driving a Tesla is like driving a computer. It's not.
I was getting ready to talk about that, so I'm glad you did, Bonnie.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's like driving a computer. It's not like driving a luxury car. So for people who want to drive computers, they should definitely target that market, but it's not going to be the whole market.
I like that, Bonnie. I mean, I think that's a very valid point. Like right now, the only thing you have to pick is a Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a Model Y around here for a couple of weeks, and we played with it, and we all had different opinions about it. Us car people were like, oh, it's nice, not a big deal. But then some of the folks were like, this is crazy, I love it. But that also wears off over time. And then you start looking at the craftsmanship of the car.
Yeah.
And the delivery experience. And I don't like the key. It's like, oh my God.
Started.
Yeah. All right, Mark. Yeah.
So, I mean, to piggyback off of all three of you, really, when it comes to what Bobby was saying, they need to do a much better job of delivering their vehicles and giving a customer experience. But that also goes into what Bonnie was saying about how complicated these cars are. When you look at Tesla, what they used to do was they used to make affordable EVs that, a lot of people could get. But now they're skyrocketing in price, and, the average age of the consumer buying a Tesla has gone up, and the complexity of the vehicles has gone up. So it's very difficult for a lot of people to understand the car without somebody having to explain it to them.
That's funny you say that.
Another thing is
people, Marcus, like right on that same topic, like people use that point. They're like, they're affordable. I'm like, are they affordable?
not anymore.
They're not affordable. They're 70,000. Didn't they just raise the price like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
The window sticker we had says 65, but we had to pay more than that to get the car.
And it had what, 10 miles on it?
20.
Yeah.
But still, like, it's like they're not affordable. So go ahead. I mean, what was your other? How can they stay on top?
And another thing Bonnie said is they won't.
That's where you're at. They're not going to stay on top.
They won't. They in my opinion, they don't make enough models. They only have 5 or 6 models. They don't produce enough vehicles. And when you look at all of these manufacturers that are coming into the electric vehicle market, like Ford, Hyundai, and Kia, and I mean, a lot of other manufacturers as well that are getting into the EV game. But I mean, Hyundai and Kia in general, they're really upping their game. And with Hyundai and Kia, they're 2 manufacturers owned by the same company. So that's twice the amount of vehicles that can be produced on top of what Tesla's producing. And those brands have already 10 to 20 models of vehicles, and all they have to do is switch them to an electric powertrain in 10 years, and they'll be completely dominating.
That's a good point. That they have experience making cars,
Exactly.
which is something that Tesla doesn't really have.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, we're not going to do it in this video, but maybe next week. But I want to come back and talk about that. Like, I've heard that Elon Musk has said he's not a car business. He's a data business.
Mm-hmm.
A data business. You think about that, right? So, like, I was talking to somebody about it yesterday. Like, we're not going to go into it, but like, we will get there next week, right? Because we got a lot that we want. That'll be one topic for an hour.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the electrical revolution? Why it's being pushed? Why do they keep wanting us to do this? Like, especially Colorado Springs, I can only count 3 charging stations. Like, but we're all electric in 2 years. So I'm like, okay. What's going on?
And on top of that, like, personally, I don't think that's the right move, but that's a whole nother topic. I don't think that EVs are really the right move. But when you look at that, like, yeah, like charging stations, they are becoming more popular. And now, when you buy an electric car from, Hyundai or Kia or Ford, or I mean, even Tesla now, they go and put an electric charger in your house. And you get that giant tax break because it's an EV. But what you don't realize is that charger in your house is going to drive up your electricity bill $200-$300 a month.
Well, so you and Bonnie are like, they're not going to stay on top. Bobby thinks that they could collaborate, maybe open up some dealerships, let the dealer public in and produce more cars and more collaboration. I'm kind of on Bobby's camp. And so what I wrote on the, if you want to look at it on LinkedIn, I put it up there. Like, I think they should license some of this stuff. Literally, like Mr. Wonderful. Like, you know what? They did this it was in the 90s when I was working for Honda. They had Isuzu produced the Honda Passport, not to be confused with today's Passport, for Honda. That car was a Isuzu Rodeo. Remember that?
Yeah.
The Isuzu Rodeo had a few different iterations.
Yeah.
One of them was the Honda Passport.
Yep.
6 motor. It looked like a 4Runner. Honda had no SUV model at all. The CRV was not on the ground. I was working at the dealership when this first came in. And we all knew it was a Isuzu. It said it on the motor, like it was all different, but it was Honda branded. I think they don't need to go that desperate, but I think Tesla could offer some solutions for some of these major manufacturers. And like Bonnie said, they're going to produce hundreds of thousands more cars than you and profit on that.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is smarter than me. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And on the back of that, like, a lot of that collaboration is going on with the most successful companies. When you look at, I mean, Toyota in specific, most of their vehicles are just Toyota built, but their specialty vehicles are where they outsource performance parts from the best companies in that field. Like when it comes to, the new Supra, they have a BMW motor in it. And the collaboration is so essential to making a great product that, one, you have the badge that you love to see, and then 2, you have the performance side of things that you might never have thought of before. And when you collaborate with a different company, you can go in and, Toyota's main thing is reliability. So, when you have those companies producing a vehicle together, you can fix all the problems with one company and fix all the problems with the other company and collaborate together to make the best product possible. But Tesla doesn't want to do that.
It's so true too, because dude, like there was no other reason to buy. What was that thing called? The Geo. It was a Geo. It looked like
the Geo Metro.
Geo Metro. You remember that car?
Yeah. I still see a couple of them every year.
You open the hood, it says Toyota. I want it. Like nobody else would be buying a Geo unless it had a Toyota motor. And so like you could do the same thing to me. You could be like, Ronnie, they got the Ford. I don't like Ford. Oh wait, we get a Tesla battery, Tesla charger. Works at all the charging stations. I'm like, I'm in. Let me in. Elon's got this figured out. Here's my money. So maybe that's going to happen. Maybe they're already having these conversations. I just can't believe that we would think this up and they haven't. You guys out there have your opinions on this. Drop it in the comments. In a little bit, when we go to this next topic, I'm going to bring in, we got Lauren Tam. She said something. She's got some questions. So we'll drop that out there. But good answers. I like it. Let's keep it moving.
Ronnie, can I give one more tidbit?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the other part that we hadn't mentioned is the maintenance. I'm obviously pro Tesla, so not having a spare what happens when your battery dies, even though it's your fault. We're talking about getting stuck in the middle of nowhere for a period of time. So I think the maintenance portion of it is going to have to be improved as well.
Well, let me help you
That's a great
elaborate
point.
that to the public that might not know, because I just learned about this week when I was with you. They don't come with spare tires. The Model X has 2 different size wheels. From the back, they're different size than the front.
Mhm.
So you raise your hand, put it in the comments if you've driven on the road to Nebraska. You're going to have a problem if you run into 1 flat tire or 2 flat. Like, it's going to be an issue. It's rare that it happens, but what if it does?
Mhm.
You don't want to be out there like that. So they really don't. I don't see a solution. They just send a car to tow you, so your family vacations derail for a while. That's a great point, maintenance. And so when they don't have those dealerships, Bobby, it's so, like, you would think they would do this because there's so much profit in maintaining the vehicles. Elon has done such a good job to say they never break, but what happens when they start having these issues or things start to change? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's the last topic of the day. How can other brands catch up to Tesla? And I'd like to start with Bonnie, because Bonnie has been using a hybrid. She likes Toyota. She just switched to a Buick. And I know she's got some thoughts on this. So Bonnie, what do you think other brands can do that are entering this EV market? I should have said catch up to Tesla and EV, but what do you think they can do to catch up?
Make nicer EVs.
Ah,
Make EVs that are that feel different than driving a computer. I mean, that's my main complaint, that I drove the Tesla and it's very cool, but I'm not really in the drive a computer market. I'm more in the drive a luxury car market. So what I wanted was some kind of more luxurious EV or a hybrid, which probably would have meant buying a Toyota, but I couldn't get a Toyota. So I ended up with a regular car, but it's, but that's because of the luxury features that you don't get that like softness in a, like that luxury feeling in a Tesla.
they bill it as a luxury vehicle, though. After we drove it for a couple of weeks, we all had the same opinion. Not a luxury vehicle.
Right. It was cool. I'm not saying it wasn't cool.
A luxury computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a rolling computer. It did a lot of really cool things. It did things that it doesn't feel like driving any other car. That's all true, but that's not going to be for everybody. And so, if I was Toyota, I would, or I guess if I was Hyundai, I would make a really nice Ioniq, which I think is what they've done.
Yeah, it's already out there. Yeah, and they have a commercial that says Tesla's led the way, and now the Ioniq stands on its shoulders.
Right, exactly, just like that.
Did you see that ad? It was out there. It was like, wow,
Yeah.
these little pieces then, So, okay, so that's one thing. All right, what do you think, Bobby?
I think they're going to have to put some money into research and development. I mean, Tesla's been in this game for a long period of time, and they've been really specific on certain things. They still have the best range of all the EVs.
Yes, they do.
They still, goodness, it just slipped in. But they still have the speed and the acceleration.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly. So if someone's want to tap into the sports side of that, or if you're really going to compete with Tesla, you're going to have to really get out there and get some fanatic fans behind you and really give them something to talk about.
But think about the customer. Don't worry about the speed is something I don't think I would be after. And let me tell you, this is a direct reason. I drove that Model Y home. I played with it. After 2 hours, I'm like, I'm going to get arrested. This is ridiculous. And so then I got home and my son wanted to drive it. And I'm like, nope. So process that for a second.
Yeah.
If everybody's working on speed, like you just said, remember we talked about customer focused presentations? Not everybody, like Bonnie said, not everybody's going to be interested in this.
Yeah.
I need 2.5 seconds to 60 miles an hour.
I do.
And that's what it is, guys. If you don't know, if you haven't driven a Tesla out there, 2.5 seconds, I'm a 60. I had a vet next to me. He could barely keep up. For the first, quarter mile. Well, maybe not a quarter mile, maybe 3 blocks. But
I love to hear that you had a drag race. That's pretty awesome.
I didn't have a choice. I was going down the street. We saw each other. He knows, I know, and we got to test it. So but it wasn't really side by side. He was trying to get away, and I was right up on his bumper. He couldn't get away, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't want my son in this car."
Yeah. And
Like, so what could they do? They could I got to be able to do something on my phone to make it do 0 to 60 in 8.6 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I don't know Tesla that well. Fact checkers can put that in there. Maybe they do have that functionality, but I didn't have the car long enough to figure that out.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to the electric vehicles, you're always going to have that instant torque. That's one of the most, unique things about EVs is because there's no lag from like combustion motors. And that's awesome for those people like me and Bobby who really like the speed. And when it gets to electric sports cars, that's a whole different discussion. Porsche has a really awesome electric car. And then there's some other companies, but in my opinion, the two brands that I think will catch up to Tesla the fastest, besides Hyundai and Kia, will be Volvo and Volkswagen.
Volvo's actually, they have Polestar.
Well, they have Polestar for their, and Polestar is technically a whole different company that uses the Volvo chassis.
It's Ford and Volvo hiding another car.
Yeah, but so Volvo has the XC40 Recharge, which is a proper Volvo, but it's an electric compact SUV. And I've driven the Model Y. I've driven a bunch of Teslas. I've driven the XC40 Recharge. I've driven the ID4 from Volkswagen. And I can personally say I'll take the Volvo over the Tesla any day of the week.
Why is that?
Interior quality. It feels more luxurious. It's a proper luxury car with great safety features that has the instant torque, the instant acceleration, and all the nice computer features that a Tesla does, but more simple and more luxurious. When it comes to the Volkswagen side of things, I like the Volkswagen because it feels more futuristic than the Tesla, which is something a lot of people didn't think. I didn't even think I would say, but the Volkswagen, when you get into the ID4, there's lighting all around the vehicle, up above your head, it's just serenity, in my opinion. And it just feels nice to be in. It's a nice place to be, and it's a better build quality. What I see with the Teslas is when you use it for a long time and the plastic and everything in there just starts to move and crank or make weird noises, and it's just the build quality of the Teslas isn't up to a proper manufacturer status.
So I appreciate it. I like your answers on how they can catch up, right? So what is your summarize in one sentence, Marcus? How can other brands catch up? Is that like more quality products on the inside?
Yeah, better build quality and longer range. Like Bobby said, Tesla does have the best range of all the EVs. Get some better batteries.
I'll save mine for the last. I have an extreme version. I wrote this in the LinkedIn thing. I think I go back to history. In the 70s, they created the Toyota Tercel. I lived in Lynchburg, Virginia, with a lot of hills. They had a front-wheel drive car. We all laughed at it. It was really cheap. So what happened when it snowed is most of my Virginia people can relate. Like you don't park your car on the hill. You park it on the street. And that Tercel would come home and we'd watch it. It drove right up the hill. It was like the first thing. Nobody had ever seen that before. And it was cheap and reliable. And so they fell apart, with rust and stuff like that, but the engine and transmission never broke. And so what Toyota did in the 70s is they branded a generation. They provided cheap cars to a lot of people that could afford them, who couldn't afford this muscle cars, because Ford, GM, the Ford Tauruses, the stuff like that were more expensive now. And so people couldn't afford them. They could get a Tercel. They could get a Corolla, whatever they had back then. And so as time went on, those people fell in love with the cars they had, and they started spending more money on Toyota, and that's why they became brand loyal. All right. Kia and Hyundai have repeated that in the 90s or 2000s. Like, that's why so many people are so loyal to them. So they first came out, they were cheap, and now they're expensive, and $10,000 over sticker for a Telluride. So, but people are like lining up for them because they experienced it at some point in their generation and their families. And so here's my thing. I think they should, if they want to catch up to Tesla and dominate, generate affordable hybrids, like Corolla hybrids, Civic hybrids, smaller SUV hybrids, and just mass produce them. Push them out there. You can get 50 miles to the gallon. You don't need to go fully electric right now. You can afford the gas if you have a hybrid, and brand that generation. And then 3 to 4 years from now, continue to produce your electric models. And those people will easily go right into those cars, in my opinion. So that's my opinion about it. I'd love to hear what other people have to say in the comments after you watch this video. So, all right. Good info, guys. This is our first one. It kind of started off as a disaster. But guess what? As I'm sitting here with you, we got that car shipped. So the trucker's talking to me. They got it picked up. It's getting moved right now. What a disaster. Let's go to the chat because we had some comments that I thought were pretty cool. Lauren Tam jumped on and said, "Hey guys, I like that you guys check. And are there any problems along the car buying experience?" So that was cool. She also says, "And car buying is a lot harder lately. That cars are being bought up so quickly. Seems like it would be best to go through us." Great.
Thanks,
So
Lauren.
we do have a lot of inventory available across the country. We still have nationwide buying power. Shipping is a little bit more expensive right now, but compared to shopping locally on your own, yeah, we're going to have an awful lot of options. And then she also dropped this in there. I feel like buying Tesla feels more like a lease than full on owning the vehicle. Is that with all EVs? So I don't have. So you can pay cash for a Tesla, Lauren. You don't have to lease it. I don't know what she's trying to say there. Bonnie, you think Lauren?
Well, I thought she was trying to say that it feels more like like something you should lease rather than owning it.
Okay. So I'll drop this opinion out there then. I say this about all the electric vehicles. You should lease them because they change like cell phones. And what the argument from the clients that I talk to is, oh no, Elon will just send out an update and change my car. Or what is functionality. But what I think they're missing is what everybody's talking about in this room. They're just computers. So someone just update. Like, you ever had an old iPad that got updated?
It runs slower.
It does what it's supposed to do, but it's not as cool as that 12.9 up, that brand new one. And I think that's what people are going to run into because, and it's not going to bother everybody, but I think that's what I've been trying to say. Like, if you're going to get a Tesla, look into leasing it. You don't need to have that car for 10 years. You can enjoy it, not have any gas, and just have a payment.
Yeah.
Wait, she had a follow-up. She says, no, it seems like you don't own it even if you buy it. So, well, you might be right, which is another live we're going to do because we're going to talk about why is everybody pushing electric cars. And yeah, you're probably right. Like, because me and Bobby were in this guy's office and his Tesla broke down and it went offline. And they had to drag it down to Tesla and Tesla couldn't find it. And they're like, where are you? Like, at first he called and they're like, where are you? Oh, we can't find you. And I'm like, I don't like that. I do not like. So maybe that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, they own me because you know where my car is. You can shut it off. Think about that, guys, as we think about processing this next live, because we're going to talk about that for a whole hour.
Yeah, she popped another one in there too.
Yeah.
If Tesla wants to shut you down, even if you bought the car, they have control. Absolutely. And another thing that that a lot of Teslas that I've seen run into, actually, a buddy of mine had this issue, is he went to go charge his Tesla, but they locked the charging port on him. So he couldn't even charge the car. And he did do a 6-year loan on that Tesla. So yeah, that's a great point, Lauren.
I wonder if the control changes. We'd have to get a fact checker or somebody that's willing to research it. But like, if I write a check for it or pay it off, do those controls get released? I don't know, but it wouldn't make sense though, because like, you buy the Tesla, the bank pays Tesla, Tesla's paid. You're paying the bank back, so the bank owns the car, right? Yeah. Not Tesla. So why does Tesla have all of this control over my car and mine and the bank's car?
Because, like you said, Tesla's a data company.
I think I heard it. I think it was on the PBD podcast. I think they said it, and I don't want to put it out there as a fact because it's hearsay. And I tried to Google it and I couldn't find it, but I want to find out if Elon really said that. Fact checkers, put it in the comments if you find it. But if he said that, I really want to go deep and dive into that. Like, if you're a data company, what are you mining?
Well, and real quick, I gotta speak for the pro Tesla guys. I mean, it's still true. It's still true that there's been a Tesla out there that's gone over 1 million miles. Part of the whole control and the computerized and the updates and all that stuff, that's part of the allure of purchasing a Tesla, knowing that you're going to have that continued growth and updates happening to your vehicle over the life of the vehicle. Now, one of the downfalls to that would be, you could own it outright, but usually how we get priced out of a typical gas vehicle, you got to replace the engine or a transmission. But when you got to replace those batteries, that gets super expensive, and then that could potentially price an owner out of a Tesla. However, for us pro guys, it is a long-term vehicle if you have the money to keep it going.
I think you're right, Bobby. I mean, there's going to be clients that want to keep the car that long. A million miles, though, man. Like
That takes some proper care.
It was a lot of battery pack changes. I mean, I think he went through 3 total or 4 like battery. No, I'm wrong. It's probably like 7 or 8. But either way, it's technical, but it can be done. It is still your vehicle. Yeah, you're still going to always need service, just like everyone don't repair their own vehicle. You know, so I'm pro on a lot of this stuff, but I do like Teslas a lot, and that part needs to be mentioned.
I'm still anti that though, because I don't want to have a S8
Right.
with a million phone calls. You know, it's like nope.
Right.
I want the latest because they're going to start like, okay, we had Apple CarPlay that had to have a wire connected to the phone in 2019. In 2020, the wire went away. Just like that. It was so fast. I was like, they're not going to figure this out for a while. Wrong. You know, you jump in the car, the phone says, do you want to connect to Android Auto or Apple? I'm like, good Lord. So as the speed of that stuff, there are going to be people that are like, I don't care. I want the car for a million miles. There is going to be that market. I don't think it's going to be the majority, my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, and realistically, the majority of people trade in their cars every 36 to 39 months anyways. So, I mean, guess what? For the newest and latest toys. So, I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that one, Ronnie.
I agree as well.
You guys did great, man. You know, thank you for chiming in, Lauren. We'll be back here next week, every Wednesday at 2:00. Anybody got any final shots? Are we ready to check out?
I'm good.
Bonnie. We both had disasters, technological problems, shipping problems. Stuff's going to happen, guys. But look, I am proud of you guys for jumping on here with me, and we're going to do it every week. So if you guys have any questions after we're offline, pop it in the comments. We'll be sure to answer you as soon as possible. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.